Alan Dershowitz, the best living attorney and my dear friend. Right, I mean, you can't knock the guy for pardoning his son, but the way he went about it for months and months and months could have been better, no?
Well, the good thing about it is that he has finally acknowledged what we have been saying for years on this show, that lawfare has been destroying our legal system, that people are being prosecuted not for what they did necessarily, but for who they are in violation of the instruction that God gives the Jewish people in the book of Deuteronomy is do not recognize faces when doing justice. Do justice objectively. Wear a blindfold. And now Biden is saying what you've been saying all along about lawfare against Donald Trump is absolutely true, except they used it against my son, so I'm going to pardon them.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You're the first to admit these cases against Trump were ridiculous. They almost had
They're not cases.
Right. They had to make up. Right. They had to make up stuff with Trump. These Hunter Biden charges are real. They're real.
I agree with you, but the difference is, the similarity is, nobody named John Smith gets prosecuted for failing to disclose a drug thing on a gun or for paying back his taxes but doing it too late. People don't get prosecuted for that. It's a crime, but they don't get prosecuted.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's lawfare also.
Gotcha.
So I'm thrilled for two reasons. First, as a father, of course you're 100% right. He did the human thing, and he shouldn't have lied about it, and he lied during the election campaign to get a benefit. So once the election is over, he then says, I can do what I should have done as a father, but he didn't do it to endanger the Democrats and his selected choice for running for president when the election was going on. So he really gets a bad mark for that. But the recognition, and now what we're going to see is instead of lawfare, we're going to see what I call pardon fair. We're going to see both sides doing that, and Trump now has a green light, not that he needs it constitutionally, but he has a green light, and he's going to pardon everybody who was selectively prosecuted under lawfare. He now says, I have a precedent. My precedent is President Biden. He did it. I'm going to do it as well. I don't know whether that means Rudy Giuliani gets pardoned. I don't know whether that means other people that were in his administration get pardoned, but I think we're going to see pardons based on this recognition of lawfare.
Oh, you're going to see all those J6 people that are still in jail. I mean, you talk about, you complain about P. Diddy being in jail, and you're right, based on the law, he shouldn't be. These people broke in, put their feet up on somebody's desk. They've been in prison for 5 years.
I agree with you. Even some who aren't in prison. One of my clients who went in there just peacefully to protest wasn't allowed to graduate law school and has been denied the right to be a lawyer and has been indicted. We're hoping he and others, at least the ones who didn't commit violence, get pardoned. And, they are selectively prosecuted, too, because they didn't prosecute Black Lives Matter people. They didn't prosecute many of the people who have been preventing Jews from going to class and engaged in all kinds of horrible conduct on Columbia and other campuses. So it is selective prosecution. And I hope this gives us an occasion to look at the whole issue of lawfare from top to bottom and pass new laws prohibiting it. You cannot go after people based on who they are. Listen to the Bible. Do not recognize faces. Wear a blindfold if you're a judge. Don't know who it is, who you're sentencing. Just do it based on what they've done and whether other people in the past have been prosecuted for similar offenses. That's the way the justice system has to operate to be fair.
Let me read this to you, the great Alan Dershowitz, our mutual friend David Friedman, Donald Trump's former ambassador to Israel. This is on his Instagram page today. I'm not sure that Joe Biden has fully considered the ramifications of his pardon of Hunter. The pardon is extremely broad and covers activities while Joe was still vice president. This means that Hunter cannot plead the fifth if asked about his business dealings with Ukraine and China, including his dad's involvement, because with his pardon, he has no risk of criminal jeopardy. Is that true?
It's true federally. Now, if you can concoct a state charge, he might be able to argue Fifth Amendment on state grounds. After all, the Fifth Amendment does apply as well to state prosecutions as federal. But I would be very hard-pressed to find a state crime for the allegations that have been involved in dealings with the Ukraine.
So, what do you mean? But didn't Alvin Bragg do that for Donald Trump? You can find something.
He did. He could. And I mean, but now you're being a great lawyer, and you're making the argument for Hunter Biden. Right. I think in the end, Congress could call him, and he probably would not be able to invoke the Fifth, and they're going to be able to ask him all about that. Look, I'm hoping Congress does its check and balance function by calling Bragg, by calling Smith. Remember where Smith trained, where he learned how to use lawfare against political enemies. He learned it at the International Criminal Court, this disgraceful court that has gone after Benjamin Netanyahu. That's where Jack Smith, learned how to use lawfare. He was a lawyer to the International Criminal Court back in the day.
That is unbelievable. And, yes, he should. There should be repercussions for Jack Smith. You know, you mentioned earlier about students on campuses. I want to read you this story. You know, I'm very, very down on the mayor. There was a time, Alan, it was well publicized. The Daily News kept running columns. How was a conservative radio host buddies with a Democrat mayor? We had lunches, we had dinners, we would text each other. And I stopped all of that months and months ago when I believed during the Columbia situation, the mayor really, really did a terrible job, showed his real colors, which is, I don't really care about the Jews. I kept making the excuse, he said, listen, if the president of Columbia doesn't call me, I can't send in the police. And I would say to him, oh, really? Let me ask you this. Let's say it wasn't pro-Hamas on the lawn. Let's say it was KKK, and they were threatening black students. Would you wait for the president to call? You know the answer is no. Right,
of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
So here's the story. He's got a person named Nala Sutherland. Okay?
I know. Yeah.
You know this person?
Yeah. No, I know the story.
You're telling me that he shouldn't fire this person today?
Of course he should fire that person yesterday. The minute he found out she was tearing down posters for hostages and doing some of the things she did, she's out of there. You can't work for the city of New York and be an anti-Semite. Again, imagine if this were some person and he or she was exposed being a member of the Klan and tearing down civil rights posters. They'd be out of a job in 10 seconds. They'd never have another job in the city of New York. This woman should never be employed. And the people who are participating in these protests and are violating the rights of students and are harassing people and tearing off yarmulkes and threatening people, they should never be employable. They should their careers should be stopped. You can't have people in government jobs or in decent jobs who are anti-Semites any more than you can have people who are Klansmen, who are calling for lynching of blacks. The same standards have to apply. Whatever standards you would apply to the Ku Klux Klan, you have to apply to pro-Hamas advocates, particularly those who are engaged in violence and harassment.
Agreed. So my question is, for Mayor Adams, he has no problem during Jewish Heritage Month taking very, very big checks from a lot of stupid Democrat Jewish people over at Gracie Mansion. They're so excited they're invited there, they'll fill out a big check. But he's the same guy that ran to Rome when the Columbia students were locked inside their dorm rooms. He's the same guy that isn't firing Nala Sutherland. But he'll stand there at Nova and he'll say to Lizzie Savetsky, oh, no, I love the Jewish people. Well, you can't have it both ways, Alan.
You're right. You're 100% right. You have to have a single standard of justice, a single standard of criticism, and the standard has to be what you would do to the Klan, you do to Hamas supporters. There's no difference. They're both involved in racist rhetoric and racist activities and harassment and making people feel unsafe on college campuses. The same rules have to apply. But under intersectionality, that crazy concept that's being taught today in universities, no. If you're a good guy, if you're a Palestinian or an Arab or a Syrian or an Iranian, you can't do anything wrong. But if you're a Jew and an Israeli, you can't do anything right. So intersectionality has built into it a double standard of bigotry. The same thing is true of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Built into it is discrimination. So if you want to end this kind of bigotry at universities, you have to dismantle all the DEI departments. You have to dismantle all the intersectionality. You have to stop teaching critical race theory, and you have to end these ethnic departments. These departments that teach bigotry under the name of, ethnic solidarity. No matter what the ethnicity is, there's no room for departments at universities. There's room for courses. You can have a course on Palestinian rights. You can have a course on gay rights, but you should not have a department that specializes in any of these ethnic or identity politics because they are breeding grounds for anti-Semitism and other forms of bigotry.
Well said. Final 60 seconds. We're talking ceasefire, potential Hezbollah, ceasefire, potential Gaza. This on the heels of the sobering news that the kid from Plainview, Long Island, the IDF soldier, is probably dead. We also got the video of the kid from Tenafly, New Jersey. So a very heart-wrenching weekend. But again, two potential ceasefires on the table. Your thoughts?
Well, my friend Ron Dermer is coming to the United States to meet with leaders of, the U.S. government from both sides, from the Biden side and from the Trump side. So, Ron's a good friend of mine. We're on the phone all the time together. When he's involved, I'm usually encouraged. It usually means it's close to the end because, he's Bibi's right-hand man. So I'm encouraged. But the ceasefire has to be done on proper terms. That is, it can't allow weapons to be coming in and Hamas to be rearmed. It has to involve the end of Hamas as a governing force in the Gaza, and it has to end any opportunity for Hezbollah to be south of the Litani River. So let's hope that there are ceasefires that really hold. Remember, there was a ceasefire in effect on October 7th, both in Gaza and in Hezbollah, and look what happened.
Great points. Alan, as always, a fantastic appearance. I love you. Thank you so much. We'll do it again soon, buddy. Thank you. The great Alan Dershowitz.